because they're literally going to petition, this baby came out of my body and they've been with me for, how could you? Dads, and this is actually pretty funny. This is why dads are always demonized when the divorce happens. Dads will not do what moms do and tear the mom's image down in front of the kids.
That's a fact.
We won't do that.
I can agree to that.
So the second she starts saying things like, these are my kids, what would I do without my kids? He's just going to give up and be like, all right, the kids can stay with you.
When we look at you and a lot of the men that I know, I would trust that situation. But I would think that would be on a situational basis. I don't think that all women are great mothers. I don't think that all men are great fathers. Would it not be wise to just look at the person who you feel is the most fit parent? Whether it should automatically be a default, okay, it goes to the woman. It should really be. I
agree, Shan, but from a from a statistical standpoint, this is what I'm really trying to say, because I don't want to call, you're right, most women, I'm sorry, not most, some women aren't great mothers, some men aren't great fathers, but they, regardless of whether you pass that test or not, many people end up parents anyway. And in that, if you're not together, if you're not going to make it work in the same home with that woman, the father is usually the better choice. Here's why. Because women are like, well, I know such great mothers. I do too. Women are usually the most celebrated person in a marriage, in a family. And it's because of the dad that a mom is celebrated that way. He's the disciplinarian. I don't let my kids disrespect their mother, right? After I've disciplined them, they literally get to go to her for nurturing. She gets to always be the nice person because I'm the stringent one, right? So that's why moms are so celebrated, because they've been shown love and support all their life without her having to be the sole disciplinarian. She just gets to be their mother. But outside of that, then she has to be the disciplinarian. Then mom's the bitch. And then you have mixed feelings about moms. And then the dad becomes the one whose structure you seek more when dad is outside of the home. That's my point.
Sugar Mike, I got a question for you, just real quick. What percentage of men do you believe would want primary custody of the kids?
That's a great question. I don't care. Drop them off at their doorstep anyway.
Who said, hell no.
So that is my actual point. I don't care. Mandate it through the government. Let them figure it out. If the woman can do it, the man can do it. So that's what I'm saying. They don't expect it, sure. But if you created the baby, that's what I'm saying. I advocate for full responsibility of dad. You want to stop this problem? Drop them kids off at his doorstep.
See, I don't disagree with you, because that you mentioned that on your show probably 3-4 weeks ago, and I completely agree with you on that. Completely agree with you on that.
Go ahead.
But I've been thinking, aside from people like you, me, Marcus, maybe even Chaotic, what percentage of men would really want the responsibility of raising their kids?
I do have an answer for that. It is the same exact percentage of women that actually want the kid. Remember, the woman doesn't want the kid without the man.
But this is the thing, though, Mike.
So when that man leaves, you don't want that kid.
This is the thing, though, Mike.
Most women do not want those kids when that man leaves.
The statistics don't.
Help me out. These women are the most abusive women that have ever lived to their children, simply because they did not want them, and now they have a living representation.
The majority of women who are mothers are abusive? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that single mother, the same amount of single mothers that had the kid basically to keep the father outside of wedlock, they are indifferent about their desire to be a mother anymore after the kid is born and the father leaves. They're indifferent about it, at least.
Well, what I was just going to say is just in terms of saying most men want their kids, I do believe that most men want to be involved with their children, but I don't think most men want the full-time responsibility of being a father. And the reason I say that is because during most divorces or any kind of settlements like that, it shows that the agreement majority of the times are made for the mother to be the primary parent before they even go to court. Yep. So they both come to the agreement, which the guy agrees that the kid should stay with the mom.
But that's not the case. You got to understand the That's not because he thinks you literally just don't want to hurt. She's just gonna cry. That's like, oh, but these are my baby. Like that's really what that's about.
Crying is gonna stop them. What?
Especially at that point, if they don't like each other.
No, but y'all are like making y'all
women
are oversimplifying
get married.
it.
Y'all don't listen to that.
Y'all are oversimplifying it.
I'm really not.
Cry and break. Didn't you hear me say that when I do that thing where I mandate that all children go to their father at the age of 9 years old, you're going to have to hire grief counselors give free grief counseling for the moms, because they're literally going to petition, this baby came out of my body and they've been with me for, how could you? Dads, and this is actually pretty funny. This is why dads are always demonized when the divorce happens. Dads will not do what moms do and tear the mom's image down in front of the kids.
That's a fact.
We won't do that.
I can agree to that.
So the second she starts saying things like, these are my kids, what would I do without my kids? He's just going to give up and be like, all right, the kids can stay with you. Shit.
But Mike, let's just be honest. I think that you're thinking that every man is like you. I do know guys.
Most men are.
Listen what I'm saying. I do know guys who, yes, they are very involved parents. They get their kids when they're supposed to get their kids weekly, but they do not want the kid all the time.
I got something to say. We kind of froze Eliza out the conversation. She ain't said nothing like an hour.
Damn, my bad.
You said what now?
We froze Eliza out the conversation. She ain't
but Eliza knows we love her.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
What's that mean? Okay. Did y'all hear what I said?
No, Inaz was going. I think.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Inaz. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about me. Go ahead.
It's interesting that Trigger Mike brings this up, because in Muslim countries, that's how it works. Like up until the age of puberty, the woman has primary custody in the case of a divorce. And then after the age of puberty, which I think they assume is like 9, 10-ish, the father gets custodial custody of the children. That doesn't mean that the woman doesn't have access to her children, that she's not a part of their lives. But typically, the husband is the one who assumes, one, because he's the leader of the family, regardless of if the marriage has dissolved or not. And two, because the children bear his name, he's their lineage and his responsibility. Now, they often get remarried very quickly, right? And so there is another woman to kind of fill in that gap in his household, to kind of take that secondary maternal role. But the children become so much better rounded than children in Western society in those situations, right? Because as much as you can't replace a mother, like a biological mother, you also can't replace a biological father, right? And in this system, what we're seeing is that people are manipulating the system to force relationships that should have never existed in the first place, right? The only people that suffer truly are the children, because what happens is they repeat the cycle that they grow up in and that they see, and then we have now a second generation doing the same thing, which is going to cause a third generation, right? And so as controversial as Trigger Mike's take is, I think regardless of whether the men want full responsibility of the children or not, I think it would really change the dynamic of what custody looks like if that was the default setting.
But I think that you made one important.
It used to be.
You said one thing. You said that she gets the child at the early age. So wouldn't that even out, like she gets it like just for 9 years, and then he has the child for another 9 years? That's still. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, so in those countries, it's not till 18, right? It's until they get married. So the difference it's a little it goes past another 9 years, right? But
men be at home all day, like the guys just gonna be.
So, but men tend to, not always, but tend to get married a little bit younger, right? In those areas of the world where like it's early to mid 20s where they start to get married. So the father would have custody for a longer period of time at that point. But regardless, like it's still, you're not seeing the cycle continue in that system, where even though there aren't as many divorces, in the cases where there are, the children aren't replicating the behavior, right? And so I think it would be an interesting case study to see what that shift in laws would look like in this part of the world.
Do you think most women would agree to that? I mean, I would. I would if I had if I had a son. I have a son. If I had a daughter, I don't think I would. Just on the strength of, I do think a female needs their mom as they transition through puberty and everything, but the dad definitely needs to be involved. That's not a situation where the dad does not need to be involved, because I think the dad being involved is very important for the daughter. But if I had a son, I definitely think that I wouldn't have any problem transitioning from like his primary years, giving him to make his dad be the primary custodial parent, because I think at that age, the father needs to have more influence over him and teach him how to be a man, because I know I could never do that.